Welcome, guys, to Artistry and Friends Quarantine Lockdown Beats. My name is Imani. Most know me by Glam by Mani. And today we're gonna go for a bold look, a colorful look. So stay tuned to see how I achieved it. All right, so we're gonna start off with our brows, and my favorite products to fill in my brows with are the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in the shade Chocolate and Ebony. So I do it two shades because the first shade is lighter, which gives it a more natural, realistic look. And then the second shade, which is the Ebony, defines it more towards the end, like my tail and stuff like that, to make it sharp. So that's what I like to use. You don't have to use that. I know some people hate gels, and I completely understand. So you can still achieve, the same look with the eyebrows when you're using a pencil. It doesn't even matter what pencil you're using. Possibilities are endless. And I know a lot of people have asked me what I use to set my brows with. And typically I use the Duo Gel, the clear one. In the store, it'll come in a white and green packaging. And it has like a little brush applicator, which is cool too. I use it because my eyebrow hairs are thick and they're long. So sometimes it's hard for them to stay in place when I'm filling them in. So I like to, set them with something. You don't have to use the Duo Gel because it does take a lot to get it off. I won't lie to you. You gotta really use your elbow grease and like scrub. So it's not for the faint-hearted. If you don't like, if you're able to just want to wipe off your makeup really quickly and be done with it, that's not what's going to happen once you're using the Duo Gel, I guarantee you. If you do find a wipe that wipes it off like that, let me know, because I be having to struggle sometimes. But your makeup looks good all day long. Now, you don't, like I said, you don't have to use that. You're fine with, using your Got2b, any brow soaps you found out about. You can use those. I haven't yet been able to get my hands on some, but when I do, I'll let y'all know how it feels, how it works. So yeah, I'm just going ahead and using that Ebony to fill in the ending of my brow and make that tail sharp. As you'll see, you'll be able to see the color difference and how it goes from light to dark and the effect that it has. So now I want to go ahead and conceal our brows. Another trick or hack that you can use with the Duo Gel is getting your brush to be more precise. You typically want to get a brush that's already somewhat flat. Use the Duo Gel on each side and press it together and hold it to mold it into a flatter shape, just to give you a more precise, brush and whatnot. So I took the Pat McGraw Sublime Concealer. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm gonna look it up later. And it's become one of my favorite concealers because it's mattifying. So what I usually do is I will, outline one side or conceal one side of my brow and then work on the other because I like for it to dry. I let my concealer sit before I do anything else just because it dries, there's no flashback. It's just, and it makes just for like, a longer lasting makeup look. It doesn't get oily. Try it before you go into blending right away. Just let it sit for like 5 minutes if you have the time, and it'll make a complete difference. I use it under my eye as well, so I'll show you guys that a little later on in the video. But yeah, I'm really a perfectionist, and you're gonna see because it takes me so long for my brows, just because like I'm still trying to understand the whole concept of your brows like not being twins and being sisters or cousins, whatever you want to call it. I can't get over that. I feel like they're supposed to be twins, and every chance I get, I'm gonna try to make sure they come out like twins. I just can't help it. It's a shame, but I just can't. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with our eyes now. So what I'm gonna be using is the P. Louise and the MMM Mitchell. There's like 3 M's before the Mitchell. I don't know. The MMM Mitchell Acid Rain collection in the color Nitro. I love using the paints because it makes for a more, how do you say, a bold look. If you want to use bold colors and use multiple colors, but you don't want to use a whole bunch of eyeshadow, these are perfect. They stay exactly where you put them. They dry matte, and I just love them. So what I do is I just pack it all over my lid, and I pack and pat. So they say the instructions to using this is patting, and I didn't believe them at first, so I would just like rub it in and move it in like circular motions, and yeah, patting is definitely the way to go. So I just pat it until it's like dry, just to make sure there's no creases in it as well. Now towards the end of where the paint is, like the very edge of it, I'll go ahead and go in circular motions then to blend it out so it's not as harsh at the top. Okay, so definitely blend at the top of it once you've done patting it, just so that it's already set at that bottom closer to your lid, and now that you're just blending it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the James Charles palette. I love it. The colors, as you can see, like I need to get a new one because the colors are already, running out. So now what I'm going to do is add the darkest black there is on that palette. And I'm just going to blend it at where my crease is at. So what I do is when I'm using the paint and eyeshadow, I have a 50-50 rule. When you're putting a new color, so like where the blue is, it's going to be 50%. That black is going to be 50% on the blue and then 50% above the blue where it starts, so that the blending is more seamless. So I do that on both sides. I'm in this video, if you can tell, I'm already speeding up the second side just because, just to get to like, the gist of how it's done. So now I'm going to take a fluffier brush and blend that out some more. Just because, like you said, you want to make sure that everything's blended out well. You don't want it to be harsh, especially when you're using a whole bunch of colors. You want it to flow seamlessly. So now that I've cleaned it up some, you don't have to clean it up right that second, but eventually you will clean it up. That's just the way I do it. I clean it up in between. So now we're going to go ahead and take our second color, which is going to be red. So I feel like in that palette, they don't have a deep enough red, so I have to mix those two to like really get the gist of the color. So I ended up switching my method. So I was using the red, and then I ended up using purple instead because I felt like that was a better transition, and the red just wasn't doing it for me. Although the red incorporated did make it, make the gradient a little bit nicer, but So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and blend that in. And then I'm going to take pink. So the pink is going to be the top, is going to be right above that purple. So it was the blue, which was the paint. Then we went with the black to make it, more bolder, to really separate the colors. And then we went with the purple, the red, the pink. So, there's a method to my madness. Now, and at the very, very ending, that edge, like closer to like, the arch of your brow, I just add a little orange just because it's, makes a nice little touch, like a sunset effect. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other eye. So now that I'm just about done blending up those top colors, I'm going to go ahead and take a fluffier brush. I'll put the description of what exactly that brush is at the bottom, just because I don't know the number off the top of my head. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go ahead and blend out all the colors that I just finished with. So just to, make it smoother, like you said, you don't want it to be harsh. You don't want to be able to see where the colors start and where the colors end. You want it to morph all together. So I'm taking a fluffier brush to blend it out. I'm going back in with the nitro just to clean it up some more. And yeah. So like I said, I cleaned it up earlier in the beginning. And like I said, you don't have to do that, but that's just how I am. I just like to, clean it up in between and like switch up my steps in between. So sometimes it can get confusing. So I'll try to like stay on track as best as I can. So I'm sorry. So now I'm going to take that same brush that I used earlier to buff out the end, to buff out this end. So like I said, you want it to be as smooth as possible. You just want the colors to sort of kind of melt into one another. Listen, if I didn't come to blend for this tutorial, I don't know what you came for, because we blending over here, honey. Yeah, so now I'm going to take the P. Louise base. It's called Bada Black Base. And I'm going to use that to give the eye a more dramatic look. Instead of using eyeliner, because I just feel like this is easier, just to do it this way. And you let it dry. You don't have to put any eyeshadow under. And I don't like the fallout. And this is also good for anyone who likes to put on their eyeshadow after they've, already done their foundation and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to keep patting and then dragging it back so that the black under my eye meets the black at the edge of my eye after, the eyeshadow and things of that sort. Now this next part, not for the faint-hearted. If you are someone who tears, this is not for you. So I am using the P. Louise paint It is in the shade 00, I believe, or 01. I'll put it down in the description box for you guys. And I'm taking a eyeliner brush, but I also tampered with it and I used the duo gel to make it, a little bit firmer, so that way I can like get the liner precise. So I'm just going to place it in there. As you can see, tearing for me is not a problem, and I can just put it up under there like nothing. For some people, they can't. And if you're just now starting off and wanting to try your waterline, I suggest that you put the black on after, if you can tolerate it and you don't water. Because you mess around and you do it this way and you start tearing, and then it'll mess up the under eye, okay? So now that it's dry, I go ahead and the same colors I used for my upper eye, I use for the way I do it on the bottom, just so that way it's asymmetrical in the way that it, blends on the top and the bottom. So the same colors, you don't have to use all the same colors, but just to get the gist of it, I would always try to use black, purple, pink, just to give it that effect, as you can see. Now I'm going in with eyeshadow for like a liner look, because I don't want it to be sharp. I just want it to be, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, so you know what I'm trying to say though. I don't want it to be really sharp and precise, because nothing is really sharp and precise about this look besides the blending. No need for a sharp liner. Everything else is already dramatic. And then as I'm doing it, I'm going to also blend it out as well, just because I'm debating how far out I want to go with the black. I don't know what's going on with like the camera that I'm using, because like it doesn't look as blended as it looks in my regular camera. So once I put my lashes on, I'm going to show you what it looks like from Instagram. See, it looks blended. My camera playing tricks on me, y'all. So now I'm going to go ahead with my primer. I'm using the Becca Cosmetics Mattifying Pore Perfecting Primer. That was a mouthful. And I put that on the places that I sweat or I get the most oiliest at, which is my T-zone and my chin. So I'm going to go ahead and pat that in as well. I don't want to rub it in because it can get crumbly. And then I'm also going to use the Milk of Magnesia later on all the spots that I didn't use the other primer on. So this is for the people who have large pores. If you don't want to clog them, but you also want a matte finish, those two primers are for you. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put the Milk of Magnesia on the places that have not had primer put on it yet. And thin layers, you don't need too much. No thin layers. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the stick foundations from, what is it called? Juvia's Place. That is in Benin, if I'm pronouncing it right. And I'm going to go ahead and take that to conceal the top of my brows. Look at that. See, I'm always trying to be a perfectionist. But it's going to be sharp, though. I'll tell you that much. It's going to be sharp. So now I'm going to go ahead and take a fluffier brush and I'm going to blend it all the way up. So notice that for the top, I use a concealer or a foundation that's going to be the same color as my forehead. Just because I feel like it's easier and I don't like to add too many layers of makeup on, especially to my forehead. Because, you know, my hairline is a little low. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that and blend it all the way up into my forehead. So now I'm going to take the Juvia's Place foundation. I'm going to put the name of all the foundations in the description box because I can't think of it on the top of my head. So I'm going to take one that's closer to my actual skin tone for my under eye. So what I like to do is I use 3 shades of foundation. I know it sounds like a lot, but I don't use a lot of it just because I have an uneven skin tone and I just want to make sure that I'm matching my face correctly because it's lighter at the top and it gets darker at the bottom. So I'm going to do that on both, sides of my face. Yeah. You don't have to do this, but typically it takes like, for some of us brown, I feel like for us brown girls, it's hard to find a shade of foundation that matches perfectly. We always end up having to mix like 2 or 3. So this is the way I do it. So now that that bottom layer is on, I'm going to go ahead and take a fluffy foundation brush, which I got from Morphe. I'll put it what exactly the number is below in the description box. So I'm going to go ahead and blend that out. And I feel like everything I do with my makeup is always patting because I don't want to rub it out of place, but rather pack it in and pat it into place. I feel like when you rub it, that's when, you get streakiness and other problems start to arise. So I just like to pat everything through. And I also don't use a lot of beauty blenders. Sometimes I hate beauty blenders. Sometimes I hate brushes. So it's like, I switch it up every now and then. But right now, for me, brushes are winning. So because we already have that shadow under our eye, I'm going to take a smaller, fluffier brush. It's a dual foundation brush. So it has like one head is the foundation, the other side is the concealer brush. So I'm using the concealer brush part to blend it out some more without messing up what we have going on underneath the eye. So now I'm going to go ahead and get ready to highlight. That's going to be my MAC concealer in NC45. I love it because it's so matte and it does not crease, crack, anything. If you want a good concealer for a good price, go to MAC. So I'm going to go ahead and place that over and pat it underneath my eye. I'm not going to pat it all the way through because, like I said, I like for my concealers to sit and set on its own. And now that I'm pretty much done with that concealer, I'm going to go ahead and take a lighter concealer in the shade Light Sand. It's going to be the Tarte Tape Shape Concealer, which is also a good mattifying concealer. And I'm going to place it underneath my eye. All I need is like a dime size amount, because I put it on each side and I bring it down just to blend in with the concealer that I put on before it. And before that, I let it sit for like 5 minutes. Might have been 10, who knows. But I did let it sit. And you see, like, the way it works, like, everything is still in place. You're not moving too much of the product around. You're just sort of kind of blending it in. So while I was setting my under eye, everything else was pretty much just setting the way I like it and sitting. So I'm going to use my foundation brush because it still has some foundation on it. And I'm just going to blend the rest of the concealer on my face with that. And again, I'm just still tapping everything through and blending everything in. So I recorded my contour and my blush and stuff off camera. Sorry, guys. I got really upset because I couldn't find my favorite contour stick, so I had to improvise. So, yeah, my bad. I got y'all next time. And so this is the finished look. Let me know how you guys like it. Follow me on Instagram at Glam by Mani with 2 eyes. So blended. It's a nice color gradient. You know what I'm saying? The lashes is popping, you know. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.